Alright, for this next part, which is 5.0 in the series, I wanted to go back over something one more time because I've had a couple of emails on this from the others. And basically what I got here is I'm having to make a special shape because he's got this on a Corvette, okay? And anybody that's got a vet knows about hood clearance problems. Well, the manifold that the Denmark guys picked was this is the Edelbrock EPS Performer. And I can tell you right now that it's quite impossible to put the 1206 shape on it. I'll try to get you some zoom here a little bit better so you can see the problem I've got here. That top line right here is the 1205. The 1206 is damn near up here to the top. Now, if it was here in America, I would say, you know, let's make the head 1205 and the manifold 1205. Well, you don't know what block deck height it is. I've gotten some Chevrolet blocks that have 60 thousandths in the hole, some of them 30 in the hole, and you get into this alignment problem, which the manifold can move up and down on the block. So to give him a little bit of wiggle room, and the key here is to put the square inside of the square, is to make a mixed shape, which is a 1205 on the manifold and a 1206 on the head. But on the manifold, I've got width, so I'm going to use 1206 on the outside of the manifold, 1205 height, because I got plenty of room for 1206, not plenty, but enough to get the job done. And the other thing here is in the cylinder head. Now I went in there and measured this, and believe it or not, there's barely 1 inch at the pinch point. When you look up here at this drawing that I put on the board, you can see that the stock head at 1 inch. This is what I want. I don't know if I'm going to get it, but I'm going to get as close to that as I can. On my first slice, I'm going to try to get 1.060 and then blend it to a 1080. Then I'll put my sonic checker on it to make sure that I've got enough to try to carry it to 1100 if I can. Remember that a regular Chevrolet, like a set of double humps, it has a, or thereabouts. So, you know, going that far from a 9, that's 200 thousandths, damn near a quarter of an inch on the entrance. We want width is what we're wanting on this without too much of a compromise. So let's put the plate on there. I'm going to scribe the 1206, which I've already done on the manifold some time back. I've already got the 1206 width minus about 30 thousandths, because the way the Brzezinski plate is made and locks in with the dowel pins, it makes it a little bit bigger on the head and a little bit smaller on the intake manifold. So that way this square fits inside the square of the head. The main objective here is to make sure there's no overhang, that the port in the head is bigger. He's got some movement up and down when he bolts it on in case the block deck height is different to what we're going to have here. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to carve out the entrance to the head so that way we can get to this awesome, what I call the pillar of power in the ProComp heads. Already see where I cut the pillar of power. I've already cut the holes for the tubes in the head bolt hole and went in there and did my cuts in here to set up for raw material removal and blending. But I want to widen this up because remember that when I widen the port and try to pull it over, I'm going to have more room to get in there with my bigger carbides. So I've already set this gauge right here at 1.060, and as you can see, will not go through, stops. So I'm going to go in here now and make my trench cuts in the head so that I can start getting ready. And to do this, let me try to get you a better angle. How it's done. Now remember, you don't want to go crazy in here. You just want to go in here and set the initial notches up. This is kind of hard to do with this, boy, I tell you. Okay. Now, I'm going to go in here. Sorry about that. It's just really hard to port when I'm in this particular situation and catch it on film. So kind of excuse that. Let me try to get us more squared up here. Alright. See, I'm going to lean. I always try to get over there on that part right there. Alright, now I can use my finger and feel. There is a gauge. I'm going to get into that more later that I developed, but just from years of doing it, I know about the cut. Alright, so I'm going to go in here and make that cut on all of the heads on the bottom. And when I get these things cut, we're going to come back and I'm going to show you how I pull them in and get them all to lay in where I want them. This is one of the things I wanted to point out when we talk about the ProComp heads. Remember that I had the Brzezinski plate, which is locked down by dowel pins. Look at how the port is offset center to center. Look at the amount of meat from right here. I mean, this is over 1/4 of an inch. On this side, it's just a few thousandths from being to the line. This is what you got to watch out for when you're moving this port, is core shift quality. Because, you know, you don't want to bust through. Of course, right here, if you bust through, that ain't no problem. You can put a little bit of epoxy on both sides, and I've had heads that's run for 10 years. And that stuff be strong as it can be because there's no pressure on the side. It's oil drainage. This is one of the few areas you can get away with if you do bust through. So the only thing you got to do is, you know, when you put the head on the block, you might have to take a sand roll and touch it just a little bit to make sure you got push rod clearance. But we're going to try to avoid that because my experience with these ProComps have been that the danger points is in the core shift casting itself. That's why I spend a lot of time sonic checking. But I just wanted to point that out. Look how close I'm at to the line. Probably 20, 30 thousandths here, and then golly, almost 1/4 of an inch over here. So getting them equalized, that's why I tell people never bolt these things on right out of the box and put them on. You can get so much better of a head by going in there and just basically straightening it out. But I had a minute to show you that. I'm fixing to flip the head right now. Hold on a minute.